Hello everyone, this is 𝗂𝗂𝗄𝗏 and welcome to Legacy Links. This series is about bridging eras. Each episode links a historical figure from Luxembourg's past to someone working in the same field today. Together, they reveal how legacy, identity, and place continue to shape who we are and who we are becoming. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Legacy Links. This is 𝗂𝗂𝗄𝗏 and today we are establishing a link between Edward Steichen, who was the most known photographer back in the day in the 20th century, and my friend Stéphanie 𝗃𝗏𝗏, who is a very famous photographer, videographer, social media influencer, anything media related here in Luxembourg. Edward Steichen was not only one of the most celebrated photographers of the 20th century, but also a curator who elevated photography into a respected art form. He experimented with light, form, color, as he was one of the first photographers to use the coloring method, and mood, capturing everything from fashion to war, and played a central role in shaping how photography tells stories. Similarly, Stéphanie 𝗃𝗏𝗏's work explores identity, intimacy, and the layers of memory, often drawing from her background in engineering and fine arts. Her imagery and installation work go beyond the literal, creating emotional and intellectual responses. Both artists, though shaped by different centuries, use the camera not just to document, but to interpret the world, highlighting how photography is as much about presence as it is about absence. So, Steph, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It is a special place, a special moment, a special space to talk about photography in this case and for art and history in general. So thank you so much. I'm very, very glad to be here.
I couldn't think of a better person, to be honest, to interview in relation to your station. Obviously, this is, we can find so many other photographers or videographers or people who work in the art realm and anything related to that. But honestly, you were the first person who I met here. As in, actually, that is very true, everyone listening. So Steph was the first person who I met occasionally, who was not when I arrived to Luxembourg, I did not have any social circle formed. And I literally, the networking event, it was the first person who I ran into. And yeah, we just started talking and voila. Let's start maybe with the, personal side of story. You're not from Luxembourg, but you've been in Luxembourg for a very long time. So
yes, that's correct.
How did you end up in Luxembourg all the way from Venezuela, everyone?
Yes, well, I'm originally from Venezuela. I've been living here in Luxembourg for the past 10 years. I landed in Luxembourg because of luck, I would say. It was a very good opportunity. My husband got a contract here, as many people in general. And since the situation in Venezuela was getting very, very difficult, everyone, or people from our generation, was already trying to find some other horizons to develop their life. And that was the case of us, two of us. Yeah, Luxembourg came on in the landscape and we decided to give a chance, to give a try. 10 years ago, it was not what it is today in terms of opportunities, cultural development. Luxembourg is very small, is very, still, I would say, conservative in their way. So 10 years ago, it was less creative and less open. It was a little bit more, I don't like to use the word square, but still it was a little bit more, So I was recently graduated from engineering. I was doing engineering work as a software tester. And then when I came to Luxembourg, I was like, okay, I will continue that job as an engineer and just continue with my career. Well, I started looking for a job. And in the meantime, I was trying to know the country, to know people, to meet people. And back in Venezuela, in parallel to my career, to my studies, I was also doing a lot of cultural activities like music, like modeling, a lot. It was very, very involved in photography and all the multimedia creation in general. So that's how I start being, let's say, very, very in a natural way, being involved in the cultural scene in Venezuela. without any official study. It was just, I think, around 15 years I did the cover for a magazine, for a local magazine. And since then, everything was like going naturally. I was also doing music and having some bands, and everything got a bit serious when we did.
Can I just say, like, there was the first time last year when I saw a picture from your teenage, maybe it was years.
Yes.
Avril Lavigne, like
Yes,
it looked like Avril Lavigne.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And a lot of people had the same, let's say, dream to have your own band and to be very famous.
Yeah.
A few of them, they made it, and some bands are still alive, a very, very, very few. But yeah, that was also my case. And yeah, it was very, very involved in the cultural aspect. When I come to Luxembourg, I was trying also to keep that up because it was something that I just knew how to do it. It was since it was natural in me, I was very keen to continue it in the same way as a hobby. Meanwhile, I was just looking for my job in this very French-speaking and very male, and not male in the bad way, but like very, very conservative companies. Me coming from a third world country, girl, recently graduated from engineering, was very high uphill, I would say. So yeah, I just took a different job, whatever job, and I was like, okay, I will just earn my money and I continue the search in that way. But I started writing in the 𝗏𝗏. The 𝗏𝗏 is let's say the official water here in Luxembourg. They had a blog by that time. And the bloggers were something that it was, let's say, starting here in Luxembourg. It was already, you had like a little group of bloggers talking about different things, lifestyle, food, activities, family, etc. So they were looking for bloggers and people writing about the country. And I was like, listen, I just came to Luxembourg and I'm discovering the country. So I would like to go to concerts. And yeah, I was mainly focusing in music. They told me, okay, yeah, go for it. So I started going to all these music events and lifestyle events. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do some pictures and, the things that I know. Back in Venezuela, let's say, social media was more into it. It was more developed in general. But yeah, so I was very natural at it. And yeah, I was using Instagram by that time, publishing everything that I was doing with no fixed objective, just share. So that was how everything started. Suddenly, I start meeting more and more and more people, and through visual images, everyone got to be interested on why are you doing this? And yeah, step by step, I started meeting people. I was more involved in the blog and the 𝗏𝗏 blog community. So a lot of people were doing photography. Also with no, let's say, official education, but more like in an organic way. So I found myself in that type of groups and started like, okay, well, let's do it, let's say, seriously, but as a hobby. And local brands started being interested in, okay, maybe you can do the same, but with our brand. And why, trying to be also like a little community of creators in general. Of course, everything was very starting in that sense of Instagram and the blogging and content creation, what we call today content creation and influencers. So yeah, without anything in mind, we started doing that. And after that, everything went a little bit fast, let's say, because I was very active with my photography and with those creative things that I was doing. And suddenly I joined an agency. So that was, let's say, my first official job in digital marketing. And that's how my career turned in a different direction.
Right. We can call you like the founding or one of the founding mothers of the influencing, social media influencing in Luxembourg. I mean, why not? It sounds legit.
I would say from expat community. I met people who was already doing the same, but they were originally from Luxembourg. So it was a different community, social community. So coming from a different country, not speaking at all French, German or Luxembourgish, it was, I would not say that it was difficult because I still feel lucky that I met all the people that I met and everyone were very, very welcome. but it was a different approach to the social environment of the creative. Yet, I think creative and in general, the society here appreciate very much when you are very consistent, when you are there, and when you don't throw the towel very fast, or like, don't forget the people. Also, you are always checking in, even though that you are not like the biggest friends, but you are like fellow people. So I think in general, people appreciate that very much.
Yeah, this is so true. We were just discussing that the other day about that Luxembourg is one of those places, and I find it's no matter the industry, you have to show up and you kind of have to prove yourself. It's not, you're not going to be, welcomed with open arms if you're just there, because there's so many passerbys, people who are, it's a transient society, unfortunately, because a lot of people are expats, right? I find that through consistency, this is something that it's one of those indicators that people see that you are serious about what you do, whether it's professional or a personal sense. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
We are now recording in Rotons, and I come with that because yesterday, actually talking about society and photography in general, photography has been a very good mobile for me to connect with the creatives here in Luxembourg. So yesterday we are here in Rotons. I love Rotons, and I've been coming here early. I would say we are now, today is Saturday, and the 𝗁𝗂𝗄𝗂 already started yesterday. And I saw people yesterday that they always, every year they come, and we met, and it's like, okay, another year we are here, And you are not very close people, but you always see the same people in the same event every year. So I feel that people really appreciate, and you are always in mind. And every time that you are not there, it's like, oh, this is weird, even though they don't see you every day, but they know.
This is why I want to show you, to start with something like general, because it's a good segue to show you, if we are getting back to you the actual subject matter over here with Stychen. So he was Luxembourg American. He actually moved to the United States. I'm saying it as if, he moved by himself. No, he was like 1 years of age or something. Like he was very little when his parents decided to move to the States, but he was still, Luxembourgish. So you can, he spent most of his life in the United States, but he still pretty much cherished Luxembourg quite a bit. So Luxembourgish American. And this dual identity, it obviously shaped him as a person, the way he approached his work, and obviously the results of that work. And you're pretty much the same person. Like you spent, I think, like half of your life, or maybe a bit more than half of your life back home. Now, you've been for the last decade here in Luxembourg, and you intend to stay here. So you, at some point, you're going to be the same, half of your life Venezuelan, half of your life Luxembourgish. I wonder if your personal background, being Latina, Venezuelan, in Luxembourg, shaped in some way the kind of, visual stories that you want to tell.
I would say yes, because if we compare Latin America in general and Luxembourg, they are very different societies, very different weather. I think seriously that plays a big role here in Luxembourg in terms of emotions, feelings, and the way that you actually see life. In Latin America in general, we are a very sparkly people, very colorful, very eloquent, very open, friendly. And we have this side that we really want to entertain, and we want to make the other person feel in a very good and positive environment. Meanwhile, here in Luxembourg, the society in general is very quiet, very
closed off.
I wouldn't use closed up because it's not necessarily something negative, but is very, I would call it composed. I learned this from a kid gamer, that when he said that word, I was like, composed. Wow, this is a word. The society is very how moody. Yes,
Okay.
And the weather is exactly the same. In Latin America in general, we have always good weather. We always have the sun, and we have the beach, and we have the Caribbean. Here in the other way, you always have rain, and half the year, a little bit more of the year, the weather is very cold, and those things plays a lot in the emotion that you put in art in general.
Right.
during those cold days, you are very reflective. You are very naturally, because of the weather and how the society develops during those days, your emotions are in a different place. Meanwhile, in Latin America, the whole year, we are like in an upbeat, so always on top. So we don't have really a chance to go deep down into our emotions to reflect a different type of story. We always share the same story, always upbeat, always colorful, always fun. And with all the problems that we have, we try to navigate into that. Here is also a very safe society as well. So you don't really encounter, let's say, problems, social problems, lifestyle problems. Meanwhile, in my country, we have very much economical problems, social problems. So all this shapes a lot the art or the creative content that you share and you put out there. For example, when we were recording the album, our music was punk rock. But it was very riot style. It was a response. It was an answer to the government that we had that time. The lyrics of the music, it was focused on the problems that we were having at the time, and it was a response. It was trying to shake up and to wake up some people that were not like, in the correct side of the story. So it's the same here. It's a different way. It's a different approach. You don't speak through your guts. It's more deep down an emotion. It's, let's say, I don't want to call it dark, but yeah, moody emotion, more romantic and more nostalgic. Yeah.
Right.
So this is what I've seen in general with all the creatives that I've met is more, let's say, a bit more careful. They take a little bit more time to polish, to go through 1, 2, 3 times over the work that they are doing over the picture. And I think this is the difference. That's why when I started doing, let's say, photography, I was doing photography. I have an issue with that, because when I feel that a lot of people, when you don't have an education, you've been doing that for many years, but you don't have an education. Sometimes you call yourself, I am not a photography. Why I would say that?
I'm sorry, but is there an education like that you can go to university somewhere or some art academy? Is that? But is it necessary though? Like all photographers that I know or know of, that one for example, like,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, obviously photography was like at the crossroads when he started, meaning Stace and everyone. But I feel like we are the same generation. So when I was growing up, I had a camera, like I remember I made my parents buy me one. It was like Sony Alpha 55.
The camera that we all had when we were teenagers.
Yes, exactly. So like it was a nice one, so. And I started, but it would require so much, kind of self-education, There are a lot of tutorials. YouTube already existed, so lots of tutorials on how to take pictures, how to edit, how to work with Adobe, for the editor. Photoshop, exactly, was one of the biggest. And then I never succeeded, but I knew people like around me, my social circle and beyond, who just took it up as a hobby, and then basically now they work as professional photographers.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So like you shouldn't underestimate, the maybe lack of academic training.
I feel that's in general that's something very common. I feel that I will not call myself a photographer. Like, hi, hello, I'm Stephanie. I'm a photographer. Even though I've been doing big things in photography that not even in many years I would think that I would do. And it's still photography, and I am counting a story, and I am sharing a story of other people. So I've met people that they are in the same situation. I think it is something that when you see someone that study or is studying, because I see so many photographers that they really go deep down into the craft of photography. This is a moment that you say, okay, I don't know anything about it. So you give that, let's say, importance to that person because they are actually researching and studying something that you are, let's say, you're just doing because you just like it and you have a good eye and good sense of perspective and it takes time to do that. The same with the music and the same with some other activities in general.
What you were talking about in relation to the difference between Venezuela and Luxembourg, specifically the implications or, manifestations of the character in art, in photography, in this case. today, we were talking about the Luxembourgish society being transient. The society in general is quite transient in terms of, how art is maybe made now, because we all have and we've all had smartphone cameras. Instagram,
yes,
obviously, a huge contributor to anybody being an artist or anybody having an opportunity, a chance to call themselves photographers and exactly like artists and whatnot. And like the question is, how do you maintain in general, and like you personally, how do you maintain or how do you find this depth, that you want to portray through art?
I think if you have a constant exposure to the digital environment, I will speak personally because I do work also with social media, and I've been a user of social media like massively. And this is how I also met, I would say, the 80% of the people here in Luxembourg. So I feel that from my side, I will never shut down that side. So I try to integrate it. I try to learn from it, but without leaving aside what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? And create a little story around. I will not just copy what is happening online. The inspiration will be there. You have the impact of what is happening in the digital world, in the world in general. So it's just to try to bring the why and how are you going to actually express that with your own style in this case. So trying to not intoxicate that part of you that, of course, we all do it. In some point, we all get intoxicated of the things that are happening outside. But that coming back and like, okay, I will stay rooted of what I've done, but just improve it. Okay, this is my story. This is how I want to say it. This is the perspective that I want to take. And through that, drive the message. And this is some of the exercises that you have in photography. You have many people or different photographers talking about the same, let's say the same object, but they all have a different photo of that object, of the situation, of the person. When you have one model, you can see completely different photos of one model in the same situation from different photographers. So that's the style and how they see or how we all see the world from our own eye.
This is such a great example. I love it because it made me think back. I don't think I've ever experienced that myself, but like obviously in movies, we've all seen the scenes of art classes where you have, it can be like physical, as in it can be an object or it can be a person. And there's like a class of 10 or 12 people and they need you to draw that. And the end results are completely different because all people, the artists or the painters, they're all different. So
exactly, you have paintings that it is from the same year, I would say. Even exactly the same subject. I'm famous, I don't know, like Napoleon or something like that. You've seen many painters reproducing who was Napoleon, and in some paintings you see Napoleon in a very dark way, and then you see Napoleon in a very uplifted way. So this is exactly the same exercise that photographers try to do as well, because if you're working as a photographer and then it's like, okay, listen, you need to do something very basic, like do a wedding coverage, a wedding work. It's like I cannot do that because I don't have that sensibility how other person would do it. I will represent the wedding as I see it, so might not be the same as normally the general public will represent the wedding. So this is a moment that you start, let's say, do the segmentation of different photographers, different photography, the style, the moment for each type of visual representation.
I wanted to ask you also about, I do not know actually if that applies to you, but I'm just going to go and ask the question anyway. So if we think back to Tyson, like his career has been all over the place. Like he actually started as with sketches, so with drawing, and then he switched to like basic first type of cameras. Then he basically just liked it and continued with the photography. Then he started exploring how color photography can be even created and implemented. He was one of the first people who, you can think about it, high fashion or movie stars, taking pictures of something that is not that accessible by people and, creating an art around it or out of it. Then he was one of the official photographers in the Second World War, part of the American military. And then he even made the documentary And then came the family of man. So that was the culmination, maybe, of his work, like the main work of his life. And for those who are listening, the family of man is at the permanent exposition at Klairvaux Castle. So you can travel and literally say it by yourself. So you see like how, it's literally like not ups and downs exactly, but a lot of changes and a lot of development and involvement of his career. So my question is, in your artistic journey, how have your themes of visual language evolved, and in what direction you think you're going? Because I don't see you standing still.
I'm a fan of fashion in general. And this has been let's say, a pillar of my creativity in general. Fashion has been always like the frame of the creative process that I've always had. Either music, either, I don't know, you name it. Whatever I am doing, fashion has always been like, the frame. Is always under fashion that everything happens. So everything needs to look pretty, appealing, and let's say in some way polished and very, very, elegant, let's say. Even when it's like very rock and roll or very street style, it's like, okay, I try to find a way to make it look elevated a little bit. I started officially, let's say, with street photography. That was a way that I was trying to, let's say, canalize everything that I was doing. And I called it like, okay, this is street photography. Through work and, let's say, exploring other type of photography, I landed in the, let's say, documentation of different events or different, in the same scope of the documentary is also like, okay, portraits of the people. Every time that I was trying to do some documentary, I was always trying to look modern and the elevated point of view, same with the portraits. So my style, I will say, is still very street. Is not high-end photography, but sometimes the combination of both. The mood of the photography that I do is never too emotional. It's never
kind of dimmed,
exactly. It's not sad. I haven't tried to replicate a very deep or dark emotion in photography because I feel that you need to be in the emotion to know the emotion and how to replicate that. And I would say that I haven't been in that type of emotion that deep down that probably other people it's been, and I cannot replicate sadness, let's say. I cannot replicate very dark. And I don't know, for example, some people really love to do pictures about birds, nature, but in a very obscure way. So for example, I don't find that connection because I've never been in that emotion. So I've been always in the opposite side. And this is where I find the link between what we were talking before about the moody and the sparkly Latin American style. So this is, let's say, the duality. It's like, I will never be that moody because naturally I am in this side of colorful and like always staying in a high note, emotion, always positive, always trying to do the best job, always trying to share positivity, always trying to share the best moment of the person in a portrait. And if this is the case, the lightest. For example, in corporate, it happens a lot that the person immediately crosses their arms.
Yeah.
And that's a very safe posture. It's not always the representation of the person. So that's why somehow these pictures have been very popular, let's say, because people find themselves in the photo that we are normally doing. Why? Because it's like, okay, please don't cross your arms because I don't see you crossing your arms. I mean, you didn't come here and, we were not talking with your arms crossed. So let's find a way to show you as you are, still in a very professional way, but show you your personality. How, okay, we are going to keep it serious. We're going to keep it corporate, but, break a little bit that wall and give me a little bit. Of course, it's a little bit of work to break that and to make that person feel in a safe space with not every time. I mean, this doesn't happen every time, but this is the objective of, at least when I am taking portraits, that people, they see themselves when they see the picture, they see themselves and it's like, I like this picture and I would like to share it. So this is, let's say, my objective. The same with other type of coverage, like events. street photography is the same. For example, there are some rules, and some people, they try to do the same to make it correct. But street photography is the best way to start because you have so many things happening in the street. It's like, okay,
that is true, actually. But as I was walking, I was crossing the road on the way to Rotonds, and there was a guy chasing, I think it was a young woman. I think somebody robbed somebody. And he was like chasing and screaming at her, and like that doesn't happen here in Luxembourg. But I was like, that would have been an amazing photo.
Exactly, yeah. And in this situation, it's like, okay, if you see the picture, many things could be happening. I mean, many things could be. They could be fighting, they could be laughing. So many things. So the objective is to try to tell your story. How did you see the situation and make it understandable for the people? Like you come with that picture and it's like, listen, this is what I saw this morning. And some people will say like, oh yeah, someone was getting robbed, or other one was like, are they fighting? Or what? Or could be a very pretty picture of movement, you know? Yeah, I think this is when people say like you have a good eye, is that you actually have the sensitivity of capturing the moment and make it understandable for the people in one image, just, you know, with the situation that you capture. I feel that this is the magic that the photographers should have.
Yeah, this is beautiful. I mean, you've pretty much just answered my next question, which was about if you can really show you the people looking at a photo, the emotional truth, you know, behind.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that I've done it through portrait, which I find it very difficult to show the reality of the people through a portrait. And I feel that this is the objective of portrait when you are taking a portrait picture. Of course, you never want to showcase a person in a very, let's say, sad way or like in a negative light. That's why I always try to bring them up and, okay, show me the positive side of your work, of who you are. I can say that I've done it in a few situations because the person comes back and it's like, listen, I show this picture to my family, to my friends, and it's like, yeah, this is you, and this is a so great picture of you, even though it normally is in a professional environment. And they are so happy to share the picture that, okay, this is the moment I know, okay, it was a good picture because they see themselves reflected in the picture and the moment that they were when we did the picture and what they wanted to actually express about themselves. It's like, not only I am pretty and successful, but I am pretty and, let's say, sensible, or I am pretty and this is what I'm working on.
Nice. I wonder, the other thing that I wanted to ask was about this. Like when you take a picture, in this case, you were just talking about a portrait. If you take a picture of a person and you're happy with it, they are happy with it, because you pretty much managed to reveal the emotion that they asked you to show you or you saw in them. So you say it a particular way, they see the same way. And then somebody else who may not know this person as well as you show you, they would see them in the same way, the way the picture portrays them. So I wonder, again, if we're talking back to you, the times of Stuyvesant, so he saw evolving from one type of photography to another, again, culminating in the Family of Man. And the Family of Man was sort of like an idea, and it still remains such, that post-war times or post-war countries, you know, he wanted to show you the life the way it was, right?
Exactly,
and it was a certain idea that he wanted to show you to be portrayed. And usually when people go through the exhibition, they're quite moved because they're all kind of left with the same feeling after the exhibition.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, he was representing what I feel, his way of representing the post-war, the people in general, the society was in a very specific mood, you know? And even if you want to showcase, I have a picture here, actually, one of the pictures that he did of a woman in front of a mirror being happy and pretty. But even though that he wants to represent this moment of happiness, you kind of see this sadness or this heavy energy that comes from a post-war social problem, because it is a social problem. After that, you need to rebuild so many things. And even when very big problems are happening, a lot of good things happen also because you build up opportunities around and you have to fight or flight. And you can actually see this emotional charge in the pictures. And this is what he was like fighting between those emotions. Like, yeah, I really want to elevate and make like really go out. Let's go out of this problematic situation and like put everything through art and like try to make people feel good with art, but still I feel you still have that heavy emotion.
Right. So the question was, are you able, well, the answer is yes, obviously, but are you able as a photographer leave a certain emotion with people so that the emotion is universal, that everybody feels or has the same aftertaste?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. As I said, it's not always easy because you also need the other part to collaborate with you to find that emotional click between like, okay, let's work together to make this visual happen for both, you know? So let's try to tell the people what is happening here, even though it's only one person being in the picture. It's like is a work of two people because you need to try as a photographer. You need to try a photographer or let's say person behind the camera could be also video or like painting. You need to find the way that that person tells you information, give you information about how are you feeling in that moment.
I wanted to get back to your fashion photography and like how fondly you were talking about how much in love with fashion you are.
I've been so much into that and to put fashion every time that I can, that I feel that I haven't talked a lot about the impact of fashion in my content creation, visual creation in general.
But this is the prime opportunity now
exactly
to do that. So Styson is credited as perhaps maybe even like, you know, the father. If not the father, then definitely a pioneer of fashion photography.
Yes,
He started, like literally he elevated the simple catalog style into your artistic expression. And he started with the Vogue and Vanity Fair and maybe even created like the definition of glamour. Do you say fashion photography more than how it is perceived maybe by many people? Because it's not perceived by many people as something high-end, perhaps, despite the fact that it is. It very much is. It's pretty much like the only high-end photography that you can find out there, or the type.
Yeah, because you need to prepare it.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, yes. Because you need a lot of preparation and production, And it's been like that since forever. That fashion photography is difficult because of all the preparation, all the people involved, and the frame that you need to have to actually do like a good editorial or a good representation. Because in this case, it's like more an advertising. So it's like you need to be careful with what you show, how you shoot it, who is in the picture. I think it's the most difficult in general, as you're saying, like serious. And I feel a lot of photographers, it's like, okay, if I do fashion photography, it's like, I made it.
Are there a lot of opportunities to you do it on a regular basis here in Luxembourg?
Yes, the thing is that I feel that when you are in a city, that advertising is natural, is something that people living in the streets is easier. And the society is already used to do that. Let's name it Paris, London, New York. So these places is like, this is the cradle of this type of work, editorial. So you go there to do this job, but actually you can do it anywhere. And the people is very talented. You can really, really find people talented to do those type of jobs and exactly the same level, let's say here in Luxembourg and actually also in Venezuela in this case. So there is no people. Sometimes people get a bit in the negative side, saying like, okay, this type of work, we can only do it in this city. It's true. You have some more opportunities in some places than in other because of naturally how the place is moving or like the topics that they have in general. But it's completely possible to do a fashion editorial here in Luxembourg. we recently had it with Zalando. I was completely amazed with what they did here in Luxembourg. Luxembourg and Zalando in one image, and you see the type of image. It's like, whoa, okay, yeah, we can actually do it. But since it's not something repetitive, people still have, okay, is it really possible to do it? But yeah, it's completely possible to do it.
I wanted to say that Luxembourg is actually a very interesting place, a very interesting background, for the whole things visual. In general, it's picture perfect. It's very, very beautiful. Most of the city and most of the country. It's beautiful. It's well maintained. There are no hoods here. There are no ghettos, perhaps, despite the fact that some people call it 𝗬𝗂𝘁𝗄𝗏. I do not know if it is.
Yeah, in general, no, yes.
But then you have, like you've already noticed, we are at 𝗬𝗂𝘁𝗄𝗏. So 𝗬𝗂𝗁𝗁 is a very interesting, hub, a small little hub that doesn't look anything like the rest of the city, perhaps.
Yes.
And then obviously you do have little streets, like cul-de-sacs and whatnot, that are not particularly pretty. If you need to have a certain type of a background, I mean, you can find, and pardon my French, you can find a dumpster anywhere, This is not unique to a certain city.
Yeah.
And at some point, I talked with someone, also a photographer. His style is, it's different, but you can find the pictures of something that is, you wouldn't naturally find very pretty. And I was like, my stance is, you can find that anywhere. The dirt exists everywhere. It's the beauty that we are pretty much spoiled by Luxembourg because it's just, as I said, historically and thanks to the economic upheaval, it's a beautiful place. So you can find beauty here quite easily. But just even in this proximity to the beauty here in Luxembourg, you can still find different types of beauty even. I'm kind of, digressing with this, but I just wanted to throw it out there. You can, of course, find the underground here as well. But I feel like it's so much more important. This is exactly what, to the point of when you were talking about fashion photography and how it impacts how everything you find needs to be neat and beautiful and appealing to the eye. When you focus on the beauty, this is something that impacts the rest, I guess. It's like the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly, yeah. But you need to be as close to what you really want to say as much as you can, so the eye holder can actually see what you are trying to say. Actually, look, I have this book now. It is called Order in Chaos.
Oh, nice.
Some people will think that is like, oh, this is more like a self-help book. But no, it's a storytelling and editing in documentary film.
Nice.
It is from Niels Pagh Andersen, a Danish filmmaker.
You've just gone to Copenhagen. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I got it there. So I'm reading this book. He did this book from a very raw perspective. There is no education here. So only his way of, let's say, editing, way of filming, and how he got into one of the best editors in Europe, I will say. I don't know if worldwide, but yeah. But in a very, very raw way, like zero educational, just like this is how I do it. And this is one of the things that he's saying, like you need to be very intentional about what you want to say. And sometimes even like do it very basic and very violent. So the other person on the other side will understand it very fast in a nutshell. So they don't have the chance to navigate.
We can wrap up maybe with, again, like defending the fashion photography. A little bit here, because if Edward he elevated fashion photography to the art form, you are now helping pretty much keep that dialogue alive today. So do you think working in fashion can influence your artistic projects, and maybe in terms of the structure, pacing, or even how you engage with the visual trends?
Yes, and I want to keep it like that also. I would like to keep on having that fashion mix, that recipe inside, because I feel that it's been so successful in the things that I do. Well, at least successful for me, because it's like I'm happy with what I've been doing. In terms of structure, I feel that fashion photography and all the editorial, like seeing it so much and like trying to reach that level and always trying to be as close as an editorial is this special sauce that adds, let's say, the structure, the visual coherence, the visual tone also. And well, working with trends, let's say trends not only on social media, because when we hear the word trends, we immediately turn into the social media, but it's like social trends, what is happening in the world and how people is like, for example, I was checking, I see a lot of marketing news and etc. And I found this term called woke fatigue.
Yeah.
So this is a trend now. And a lot of brands are coming back the 90s or the 2000s or even the 80s.
Just this morning, I saw on Twitter, the comparison of Nike's and a different one, I can't remember the name, ads. So the comparison, and it was like, finally we're coming back to the like quote unquote normal. And the opinions that I've seen is, why can't we have both?
Exactly. And that, I feel that's the middle point that we need. And that's why I feel some people try to see fashion as something empty. If you are a fashion lover, it's like because you don't have anything in your head or you don't have anything, deep down. But there is so much work into fashion and all that showcase that fashion can actually show to the people, all the information that holds not only in clothes, but also poses, like the type of people that you have in the advertising, how they are smiling or not, how they are messy or not. So it's so much information of what is happening in the world, in fashion, in editorials, in advertising. That is not something that, okay, I'm a fashion lover, yes, but okay, what's the job that you are actually doing, or what's the added value of being a fashion lover? So I definitely will keep it as I try to do it, and I keep on putting that salt in everything that I try to do, in the information that I try to share, the message that I try to share.
Cool. Okay, so I think that we are right at the end
made it.
of the interview, but we do still have a bonus question. So has photography ever changed your opinion about a person, a place, or a moment simply by the act of framing it differently?
Yes, about a place. Yes, definitely. So easy to change the way that other people actually see the place. It happened recently when I was in Lanzarote. I was sharing, of course, the beauty of that place in a very architectural way. And the people in my stories were like, where is it? What is it? Where is this place? And it's like, well, this is Lanzarote. Oh, I didn't know that there was something like that. Because normally if you think about Lanzarote, it's like the beach, sun, heat. But in fact, I went there because I wanted to see the architectural point of view. And this is what I was showing in my pictures. And people was blown away, like, what the heck this place is? Where is it? So totally, yes, the place has changed my opinion of people in general. Yes, totally. Some women in general, they see themselves in the picture and they are completely in a different, like I never saw myself, let's say, that good in a picture. A moment as well, yes, could be something very simple and looks like it is something massive and spectacular and fancy. If you know me, well, you know. Person, a place, a moment, and framing different type of lifestyle situations, even places that you pass through every day. And when you pass many times, you see so many different versions of it, that noticing and like actually being intentional about, I will capture this that I saw because it's very new for me. So it changed completely the story and how other people would see it as well.
Cool. It actually reminds me, before we completely wrap up, I have a favorite movie. It's called About Time. And the plot is, and I'm not going to spoil anything for those who haven't seen it. It's basically about a certain family where men can travel in time. And the main character, he was at first the dad who you passed this knowledge, who you told him that you can actually do that, you can travel in time, he passed away at the end of the movie, and the main character kind of adopted his method. He was like, he shared this with me. So the method is the first day, any day, you live through it like you would normally do. If there are bad moments happening, you're affected by them. If there are good moments happening, you're affected by them as well. And so you usually do not make an extra effort to notice the beauty around you. So you go through the first day like you usually would, but the second day, go through it noticing. And then he also saying that I elevated it so that I do not need to use this ability of mine to travel back in time. And I live every day as if I don't have the ability to go back and I have to notice. So live your days noticing. Okay, everybody, so we are wrapping up this time for real, and you will be able to find all the links to Stephanie's socials and the website in the description of this episode. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.
See you.
Bye.